When I was just a few pages into my origin story, I believed myself to be son of Earth, yet ancestor of Krypton. Chip off old man of steel, thought my father Superman. Convinced that made my mother Lois Lane, flawed, human, in need of saving like the rest of us. Couldn't see what her powers were, what super strength she had in the flash and bang of his presence, his quick landings and even faster takeoffs. Assumed the sun had lifted him into flight, that there were people praying he could outrun disaster, catch the sky before it falls on us all, and it was then that I believed he was the only one with arms that could fit all that fell. A story that didn't always come easy, and sometimes I'd forget myself narrator, leave panels of my comic stripped empty, thought bubbles of silence that issues named after daddy ink in with lies I cannot help but subscribe to. And it is these days that I regret the most, the days when his absence made the least sense, when the only thing that made sense was to turn on my mother. Resent her for being Cracktonite, believe her to be what keeps him away, what poisons his spirit, why he looks the way he does, almost like death, but still too alive with pain. And for this, I thought her villain, unable to see her as victim, to see him as fiend, to understand that crack is a lot more like Kryptonite than the rock of a woman who raised me, that the difference between the man of steel and my father is that Superman avoids his weakness at all costs, while my father pays with all of himself and more, just to die a little each day, just to feel a little less in that moment. That man I once thought super, that man I could confuse for a bird or a plane in the distance that he keeps, that man and his bumps of speed to help him outrun the disaster he is made of, to escape his doomsday. That man whose tendencies I see inside of myself, and sometimes I would wish myself to be Superboy enough to see myself worth saving. But for that, I must look towards my mother, remember her as legend, as lesson, as lasso-wielding woman of wonder that she is, try to wrap myself in the truth of her rope, affirm that I am worth a rescue, that I am not in great peril, for she has always been there, as goddess, as reminder that he is closer to devil than God, and that makes me part of a demon I will never be able to exorcise. And when I finally learned to pen my story in this way, it was the day I stopped seeing him as invincible man and more like fallen God. It was the same day I dropped super and just became boy in hopes of growing into man, because every single one of us have enough hero and villain inside of us to save the day and end the world with or without the superpowers.